The final week leading up to your exam can be stressful, and we're going to talk about how you can start to reduce some of that stress and anxiety with a centered plan in order to handle the 7 days before your exam. So let's talk about each step here or each tip. We have 4 different tips here that we're going to cover. First is doing your final practice exam 3 to 5 days before the real exam in order to find your weak areas. If you only have one practice exam, it's best that you do it around that 3 to 5 day range. But as you know from the previous section, when you're building out your study plan or your final week plan, I want you to try and take at least 3 practice exams. And how I want you to schedule it is the first practice exam should be 7 to 10 days before your real exam. The second practice exam should be 5 to 7 days before your real exam. And then your last or your final practice exam should be exactly as shown on here on screen, about 3 to 5 days before your final exam, or before your real exam rather. In your third or your last exam, I want you to take, as shown on screen here, 3 to 5 days before your real exam. So again, 7 to 10 days for your first practice exam before the real exam, 5 to 7 for the second practice exam, and 3 to 5 days before the real exam for your third and final and last practice exam. If you do take more than 3 practice exams, try not to take any practice exams 2 days before your real exam. That way you can give your brain a little bit of some time to back off and have a little bit of downtime and rest. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's going to be really important as far as your practice exams go. Additionally, the second tip I have here is during your final week, when you're taking your practice exams and you're getting those results, start noting down on a Google document or a Word doc, or even just with pen and paper, whatever you have, start building your weaknesses for the topics related to that exam. So for example, if you took 2 practice exams, we should have at least a few areas that we can narrow down and say, okay, I'm getting a lot of these questions wrong. For example, if I was taking a project management exam, I could say, okay, this area, I'm doing really, really good in the teamwork and in the team and leadership section, but in the section of planning and resource management, I'm not doing so good. What I would do then is I would go take some notes of my weak areas, or my weak area in this case, and then I would go back into my material and start reviewing my weak material again. And that becomes extremely powerful because when you've taken at least 2 practice exams, you kind of know at a certain point what areas you're weak on. If you actually go through and you review your results from your practice exams and you have good high quality practice exams, then all you need to really do is just go back to either your book that you have, if you have any sort of book, and you can just go back and highlight the sections that you need to study. So for example, if you're in chapter 4, go back, highlight everything you need to study in chapter 4 and review it daily until you take another practice exam and until that area is fixed, or until you feel confident that you're good in that area. So that's another thing that you can do. Same thing with courses. You could go back to the section of the course you were working on where it has that information where you didn't do so well on the actual practice exam. So that's the second area that I want you to focus on, is doing your weak areas, fixing your weak areas. And then also I want you to do high level overviews. So I want you to review any of your written notes, any of your summarized notes, review any quick study guides, any quick PDFs, and any sort of high level topics, but especially try and focus on those high level topics and focusing on your weak areas as well. So tip number 3 here is to use short review sessions throughout the week before. That way you don't cram or strain your own brain. The week before the exam, I want you to kind of think of it like this isn't a time for me to really learn a whole lot of new stuff. It's mostly a time for me to refine my current knowledge, prepare for the exam. So it's time to more mentally start to, especially in your exam day, to reset and to unwind a little bit. Not too much, but you get the point. You want to use those short review sessions to review what you're bad at, what the overall topics you need to review are, so you understand all the overall topics in general and any of your weak areas. And you do that by your short review sessions. And I want you to keep these review sessions between 15 minutes to 45 minutes in length. So again, that's 15-minute to 45-minute review sessions. When you take your breaks in between the review sessions, have them be about 5 to 15-minute breaks. That's completely fine. And that's going to maximize your memory recall and your learning. The fourth tip here for your final week plan is to organize your notes and focus on resting properly. So as you're going through and as you're figuring out your practice exams and you're doing your reviews, keep all of your notes somewhere tidy. So if you usually just use Google Docs, just use Google Docs. If you usually use Word, just use Word. If you normally take, I love to take physical notes. So I'll just get all these together and then I'll just start kind of reviewing from a high level each of the physical notes that I've taken. And usually this is good too, because when you have your notes, usually your notes are very summarized. So it also helps again with those shorter review sessions. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go ahead and show you a real weekly schedule leading up to the exam that I want you to follow. If you want to, though, you can skip this portion of the video and you can move on, but this might help you out a little bit just so you can visualize what your week before or 7 days before your exam date should actually look like in real time. Let's go into how your week should look like before your exam, and we can visualize it with this Google Sheet here that you're going to have full access to through the resources section in this section. Now, let's dive into 7 days before the exam, winding down all the way to exam day. So this is, again, 7 whole days before the exam. What you're going to do on this day is you're going to take your first practice exam. You're going to write down all the weak areas from your practice exam after you've fully taken it, and you're going to gather, sort, and label all of your notes. So you're going to get everything together in one place, whether that's a Google Doc, whether it's physical notes, no matter what resources you have of your own personal notes, get them all in one place. Optionally, you can also do a light review if you want as well. That's not required, but if you want to, you can. That ends at day 7 before the exam. Day 6 here, I don't want you to take any practice exam because the previous day we just took one. I want you to review all weak areas that you have from your practice exam from yesterday. And I want you to label, color code, and reference any old materials and notes. So this is when you're going to go back, you're going to look at any of your weak areas, the different resources and sections, highlight things, screenshot things, use whatever type of tool you can use to get all the weak areas and start label, color coding, noting them down, whatever it is for old materials that you use, like your books, your courses, whatever it is, you're going to revisit those old materials now. Then you're going to do a long review. I want you to do 120 to 180 minute long review. Again, do 30 to 45 minute review sessions with 5 to 15 minute breaks in between each session. Optionally, you could also have someone quiz you or quiz yourself with 50 flashcard questions. Moving on to day 5 here, you're not going to do no practice exam. You're going to review all weak areas from your previous practice exam from 2 days ago that you already reviewed yesterday on day 6 before the exam. You're also going to do the same thing as yesterday. Actually, everything is the same. You're also going to label, color code notes, get anything together, do a long review as well, 120 to 180 minutes, and optionally have someone quiz you or quiz yourself. Day 4, you're going to take your second practice exam. You're going to write down all weak areas that you have from both this practice exam and the previous one from day 7. And then you're going to gather, sort, and label all of your notes. Also take notes on all weak areas from both exams. So optionally here, this day, you can do a light review of all your notes once you have everything together and once you have all the specific everything labeled for what you need to look at in order to improve on your weak areas, whether you have video names and video titles written down or like section 2, video 3 or chapter 3, page 42, all of your different references for your materials. I want everything written down. And also, if you can, do an optional light review, 30 to 90 minutes in length. Day 3 before the exam, no practice exam. What we're going to do here, we're going to start changing gears a little bit because now you should have had some time to review your weak areas a lot. What we're going to start doing now, day 3 before the exam, I'm going to have you do high-level overview of all exam topics, all the major exam topics that you've done, review your high-level summaries, your notes, things like that, and also you can review your weak areas as well. But we're starting to shift focus now more towards almost like a refresher for the entire exam versus only solely focusing on weak areas. Again, do not only focus on your weak areas for this portion. Additionally, you're also going to do everything with labeling, color coding, referencing old materials, and you're going to do a long review or long overview, 120 to 180 minutes. And optionally, you could also have someone quiz you with new flashcards that are more general, and the flashcards shouldn't just be on your weak areas. So everywhere we're changing gears, we're moving more towards high-level overview of almost all exam topics. Day 2 before the exam, take your third practice exam. This is your last one. This is the last day to do it. Don't do it the day before. Don't do it the day of. Take your third and final practice exam this day. If you don't have one to take, that's fine. You don't have to take one. If you only bought 1 or 2 exams, while it's not ideal, you'll be fine. Just don't take any exam after day 2. Once you hit day 1 before the exam or the day of the exam, do not do any more practice exams. So take that third practice exam if you have it, do a high-level overview of all exam topics and all weak areas. Make sure you label, color code, everything we talked about before. Do a light review. This is required. I want you to do that light review, 30 minutes to 90 minutes, and optionally have someone quiz you or quiz yourself with flashcards. One thing I want to say here is this is your last day of going all at it. This is it. This is from here on out. Now we're winding down to the exam. So get everything that you need to get in here because day 1 before the exam, the day before the exam, this is day 1 here. I don't want you to do any practice exams. No major studying, no rushing, no going crazy. We're keeping anxiety low here. All we're doing is a light review, 30 to 90 minutes in length for the review. Take as many breaks as you need. Keep things moving, keep things light, keep things churning. I don't want you to get stressed out here. Remember what I said earlier, you need to focus now on the things that you can control. And I want you to take things very, very light, because what I'm going to have you do this day two is day one before the exam. I'm going to talk a lot more about that in the next videos, but this light review, that's all you're going to do, 30 to 90 minutes, one day before the exam. I'm going to talk more about day one before the exam and exam day, but just know for right now, just only do light review. I'm going to cover day before the exam and exam day and exam strategies in the following videos. All right, I'll see you over there. With that, we're going to wrap this one up. In this video, we talked about the 4 tips that you can implement in order to make the most out of the week before your exam. Remember, that's 7 exact days before the date of your exam, and you can use the sheet that we showed you, which comes with the other studying plans and everything on the Google Sheets and the Excel front, and you can use that in order to guide your last and final week before your exam and have it all planned out. You can also write it down if you'd like. Just download that Google Sheet or that Excel file, and then you can just write it down on something like a piece of paper, a journal, or some type of planner. All right, I'll see you in the next one.